So this is interesting because you guys act like you really care about taxpayers' savings. There's something that I could recommend as far as taxpayer savings that would really help out our communities, which would be to stop the Title IV funding that's coming in for foster care and taking and ripping families apart. It's billions of dollars that actually comes from Social Security that goes into destroying families, tormenting children, and doing all of the things that you guys engage in here in the county. So I feel like if you really want to save us some money, those are things that you could look at. And when you guys sit here and say that you want to save us money and not tax us, you guys are the entity. Like, you want to stop these corporations from coming after the people. You're a corporation that goes after the people. And it's sad because you do it and you virtually signal like you're doing something that's beneficial to us. But as we can see with the choices that you guys have made by even just having San Diego be a sanctuary for all things evil, like, you know, ripping babies apart limb by limb, having children cut off their, you know, breasts or genitalia so that they can pretend to be some other sex when that will never happen. When you guys sit here and you encourage all of the illegal aliens to come in and now care what ICE is doing. And so there's funding being cut because of choices that you guys make. So when you sit here and say that you actually want to save us money, I'm wondering how that really, like, do you guys really believe that you're doing that? It's weird because you're not. And it's very sad to see. And we waste a lot of people's money with all of the choices you guys make.
Cesar Gurita, District 9, City of San Diego, District 4 of the county. Mom mistake, remember this footnote 7? You know that. You don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Foster declared that change, and she doesn't know how to resolve it. They ignore it. This is in connection with this governance, trying to save costs. We are thankful for this item, truly, because we could use that money plus the reserve as declared by Honorable Desmond. Or we can now assist, support the victims of the Iguana River Valley. Let's not cover it. Let's discuss it all together. We have been praying that somehow, as I volunteer, I would like with my shoulder, dig up, or with our bucket, get those sewage into the truck and bring it to the treatment plant. That is the action. When did we do that? My God, we are not competing with you. You are also intelligent. But please, allow us to work together with you. Come, Madam Aguirre, let's go there tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, tonight. We will bring our bucket and shovel and plastic bags and buckets and pumps. We are here willing to work because we believe in you, because people elected you. I do not know who these electors or the voters, or my God, I hope it's not rigged like the one that was rigged this garbage fee. Mom said our city rigged the votes, if only to have the single family homeowners to pay garbage fee. It's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call for Jennifer Royston. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Okay, this is really funny item, and it makes sense. We always suspected that the county does not always have a consistent county-wide process to evaluate whether existing space could be the need before entering into a building or your lease, because lease decisions are so often driven by the needs, aka personal needs of the individual department. So this would mandate that you can terminate the lease early and combine departments in one building, and for the separate departments, if you can do it without early termination penalty. The good aspect of this is that it would also save on maintenance, lighting, kitchens, and facilities for separate offices and so on. Good luck on finding a landlord who actually agrees to such early termination without the imposition of termination fees. Negotiation would probably produce better results, but you aren't too good at that, are you? And the policy should mention an agreement to a reduced fee. Great, start out. Maybe you can use excess pennies on the Tijuana River Valley stuff. Really, I mean, this is a classic example of posturing and wasting our time and your time. And I mean, there are so many more important things in the county to work on, like babies being torn from their families.
Thank you. Here's the next caller.
Hey, Consuelo here. I agree. There are so many more important things, but this is government. Okay, so I believe this item is about county-wide process to evaluate whether existing space could meet the need before entering into multi-year leases. Okay. Yeah, truth be told, I'm not exactly sure what the objective or the goals are of this item here's what I do know. Anything in the county or in any local government agency that centralizes, manages, or consolidates anything almost always comes to a cost to the people. More control for the government, more restrictions, more penalties, taxes, fees, mandates, all justified as efficiency or streaming. And yes, I've spoken about this before, and I guess it bears repeating. Centralization may sound neat on paper, but in reality, it concentrates power, and concentrated power rarely works in favor of the people. It's another way the system keeps people dependent, distracted, and with less say over their lives. Okay, so I get it on the surface, it sounds boring, space management, but again, when government uses processes like this, it's rarely about space, it's about control. It's about who decides what is allowed, who benefits, and who pays. And once the system is in place, it's very hard to reverse. So, I'll say it plainly. I don't know all the details of this item, but based on history and experience, centralizing anything under your management does not benefit us. It benefits you and the people. I guess, yep, that's pretty much all. I encourage this book.
Thank you. Here's the next caller.
Hey, it's true. Somewhat reason why the order of items are arranged again after lunch. This switcheroo again lacks transparency, Sarah. The county appendix is preparing for a difficult fiscal year largely caused by significant county overspending and mismanagement and inflation. Particularly as the county's upcoming budget cycle approaches and BS decisions must be made, maintaining public trust requires demonstrating that every reasonable efficiency, consolidation, and cost-saving opportunity is pursued before any service reductions are considered, but somehow not reducing kickbacks to union campaign funders. So Terry and Mike are interested in consolidation, merge of facilities, smash together employees, maybe defunding law enforcement while they're there. The county manages a $59 million real estate footprint with 70 active leases, almost as bad as BlackRock. Forcing workers to be teleworking 6 years after the fake pandemic is outrageous. Now we know it was to consolidate 50 departments and an entire office building, pushing 800 employees relocated from the health services complex, avoiding the need to construct another office building. The alleged savings were achieved not by cutting services, no, work patterns that don't necessarily work. But where are the savings on employees? Isn't this the entity who wanted to hire 18,000 more behavioral health cops? Where's the savings in that? What about adding a hospital system to somehow cover everyone but backcountry residents? What about stop investing in county land monopoly of 99,000 acres as part of the multi-species conservation plan? County consolidation of control has become standard practice rather than a one-time outcome. By aligning leasing decisions with current patterns and needs of the border dictators rather than reality, the county can capture ongoing taxpayer dollars and fraudulently waste and abuse while pretending to maintain operations of the services the public expects, but doesn't know are going to be defunded. Why don't you supervisors lease this space permanently? That'd save another $1 million just in staff replacement and then another $1 million on you coffins. Think of
Thank you. Now here's the final caller in the queue.
You guys are spending $150 million on buildings that you don't need? Interesting. What, for times just like this, when you need to go ahead and, bridge the payments to the NGOs until the next election, right? I mean, I suspect as soon as you guys go until the next election, none of this stuff really matters, and you can just keep on going back to your full plan, right? I mean, you don't really have to check them. I mean, I told you exactly where they are, and you're choosing to basically prosecute me because I pointed it out. I pointed it out when I was working at the Registrar of Voters. Heaven forbid I do that, right? I should be thrown in jail for something being insubordinate to the people, apparently. I should have just known that we should allow NGOs, unions, and whoever wants to go in and steal people's ballots through the registration process. Buy a walking list and then fill it out with people's names, and you can go in and take whoever doesn't vote name. Hell, you can take it from another state. It's not like that they really care. The numbers are all that matters, and that way they can go ahead and make up lies and convince you that this is what the people wanted, right? It's not like anyone that actually cares about, our election. I've been yelling about it for how many years, but no one still gives the right stats about it, so good luck. You just have what, another year before you can go full blast again? Maybe two? And then you could just flat out ignore us and actually throw us in jail when you want to at any given time. I mean, that's what I heard my congresswoman say. She's going to go after all the people that are spreading misinformation. That's awesome.
Thank you. Chair Wasserman, that concludes our comments on this item.
Okay, thanks so much. I appreciate the remarks, and then I hand it to her. Just to remind everyone of the context, which I think he is not news, but we obviously have a difficult budget year. The federal and state cuts putting pressure on the county. And we as a board have committed to leaving no stone unturned in our strategy to do everything we can to serve the people of San Diego County. And we're really looking hard for all the efficiencies we can before, cutting any kind of services. So this item is important because these office spaces and leases are a major ongoing recurring cost. And they're spread across departments, which means they're easy to overlook. And these long-term lease decisions lock in taxpayers for years. We know after having done this inventory that there's more than 70 active county leases. That's almost $60 million in annual leasing costs, extending many years into the future. So what this does is this board action requires coordinated county-wide review. It raises the standard from siloed decisions to looking enterprise-wide. Ensure space decisions reflect how the county operates today, kind of looking at the whole picture. When we do send leases that we allow early termination when landlords agree and we're not using the space. So just to kind of uplift a particular example, the County Operations Center was recently consolidated. It required pretty significant coordinated planning across the departments, and this avoided roughly $150 million in capital costs. So it's, again, I think in a lot of ways it's a pretty modest proposal, but I think that's a pretty part of our work, is just being thoughtful and careful every single day and chipping away and trying to save money where we can without putting any more services. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I'll be very brief and just thank you, Lake County staff, for bringing these items forward in partnership. Through the work of the Sustainable Fiscal Planning Subcommittee, we are committed to finding smart and effective ways to cut costs for our taxpayers. And if this item does pass today, we'll establish clear processes to assess space utilization before the county enters into new leasing agreements. And so I won't repeat what you have said. I will go ahead and move the item and ask colleagues for their support.
Thank you. Happy to second. Any comments? Questions? Okay, seeing none. Oh,
Oh, you know, I apologize. I don't get anything there. I jumped the gun. Thank you. This is a brilliant idea. Good job, folks.
we had a lot of stuff. Thank you. Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Lawson, remember that motion passes unanimously. All supervisors may be present and voting.
Okay, thank you all so much. Okay, we'll take a minute. Thank you. Okay, so the team is ready. So now we're moving on to discussion item 13, fire protection item 2. This is fiscal year 2025-2026 second quarter operational plan status report and budget adjustments. And this is a big lift every couple months for the county team. So really appreciate the work. And you know, I know that this is what you have doing what we've asked you to do, which is to try to leave no stone unturned and looking for efficiencies, and I think a lot of that's reflected here in this quarterly adjustment. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. Today's item updates the board on economic conditions and the county finances as of the second quarter of this fiscal year. Today, we plan to update you on the economic conditions in the region, the county's mid-year budget performance, our current financial landscape, and looking ahead as we develop the budget for the coming year. Looking first at the regional economy, this chart shows 3 key interest rates that affect everyday life: mortgage rates, treasury yields, and the Fed funds rate. These cards and other loans. The green line at the top shows trends in mortgage rates. The average mortgage rate in the last year fell below 6%. For San Diego, where homes are already expensive, the higher cost of borrowing adds to the cost of buying a house, impacting the housing market. Next, treasury rates have gone up over the last 5 years, which affects mortgage pricing and municipal borrowing costs. More recently, the current level of treasury rates indicates broader world events. The dark blue line at the bottom indicates the federal funds effective rate. This rate tracks with the Federal Open Market Committee's target range for federal funds at 3.5 to 3.75%, which the Feds held steady at the last meeting in January, acknowledging continued yet slower expansion through 2025 and continued monitoring of inflation. These steady trends in rates impact local housing, and mortgage rates continue to impact housing affordability and dampen construction activity. consumers and small businesses continue to experience comparatively higher loan costs, which adds pressure on affordability and economic growth. Now let's talk about inflation and what it means for the region. Inflation has come down from the high seen in 2022, but it's still above the Federal Reserve's 2% target, which is intended to indicate stable and manageable economic growth. Right now, both the U.S. and San Diego inflation is trending downward, below 3%. Still, inflation here in San Diego has been higher than the nation, and businesses continue to feel the pinch from higher costs, which can slow hiring and expansion. Housing is also affected by inflation. Higher prices and interest rates make buying and building homes more expensive. As inflation continues, consumers are watching their budgets more closely, looking for deals, cutting back on extras, and relying more on credit cards. Looking ahead, prices may be stabilizing, but they're still high. Until inflation gets closer to the Fed's target, expect continued cautious spending and slow growth. Looking now at sales tax, this chart shows growth is flattened after several strong years. For San Diego County, sales tax revenue growth is still positive, coming in at 1.2% last fiscal year, 1.6% this year, and 2.9% projected for the coming year, a gradual improvement. Compared to the big jump, local consumers are important contributors to county funding not only through sales tax, but also through the housing market. Next, we'll look at the region's housing with a quick snapshot as of January this year. First, as seen in the top section here, prices remain strong. The median price for a detached single-family home is a little over $1 million, continuing the upward trend in the region we saw throughout 2025. Second, as the bottom chart shows, sales activity has softened. The region is down roughly 7% year over year, which suggests real estate market demand is cooling compared to last January. Local housing prices are holding firm despite slower sales, which points to ongoing affordability challenges and a housing market that remains competitive. With assessed values staying high and continued increases anticipated in consumer prices, property tax revenues should remain stable and are expected to still grow modestly. Of the total $2 billion general purchase revenue, property taxes and property tax in lieu of vehicle license fee make up about 80%. The main driver of this revenue is growth in assessed property value. As property values rise, so does the county's discretionary revenue to fund critical programs and services for the community. This slide shows the trend in locally assessed secured property values from 2015-16 through the projection for 2026-27. We've seen steady growth from about $428 billion in 2015-16 to over $750 billion today. At the bottom of the chart, you'll see the rate of growth from the prior year, showing how much taxable property value has grown compared to the previous year. Growth rates are affected mainly by rising home prices, new construction, and overall market demand. Economic conditions, inflation, and supply constraints also play a role. We monitor these trends closely because they're the primary factor behind property tax revenue, and that revenue supports the programs and services the community relies upon. Revenue and other projections are a key part of our quarterly financial results, which I'll turn to next. This slide includes an update on the county's general fund performance through the second quarter of the fiscal year. Accounting for expenditure and revenue variances, the projected general fund operating results stand at $10.2 million, which represents 0.1% of the total general fund budget. This narrow margin underscores the importance of continued fiscal discipline moving forward. Looking at the major contributors to fund balance, purchase revenue, or GPR, is the largest positive driver, contributing a net of approximately $32 million. Overall, Q2 reflects a much stronger GPR outlook driven by assessed valuation growth, solid tax performance, and updated data. The biggest driver from our first quarter update to the board includes projections related to redevelopment successor agency revenue up $10.8 million and property tax revenue up $8 million. Sales and use taxes also bring in an additional $4.2 million, and motor vehicle in lieu revenue brings in $3.2 million. Groups including land use and environment, health and human services, and finance and general government are also contributing modest positive variances to the county's major performance. Public safety continues to exert pressure with a negative impact of about $28 million, which largely offsets efficiencies elsewhere. PSG's negative projected fund balance is primarily driven by budgetary pressures in the Sheriff's Office. This is unchanged from first quarter. The main drivers of this negative include salary adjustments made in their salaries and benefit budget, higher than anticipated medical contracts, and a growing average daily population, which is attributable to Prop 36 implementation. Additionally, revenues are anticipated to come in lower than budgeted due to lower costs that would have been funded by these funding sources. The Sheriff's Office continues to work with the county team, including the Public Safety Group Executive Office, the Office of Financial Planning, and my office, to monitor the situation and work together. Next, we look to the funds outside of the general fund. This slide shows how the county's other funds are doing. Cover things like roads, libraries, airports, and special districts. Overall, as highlighted here, we expect other county funds to finish the year with about $24 million combined, which is less than 1% of their total budget. The chart on the right shows the main contributors to that fund balance, with special revenue funds being the largest. The road and library funds are the biggest contributors in that area, mainly attributable to lower than budgeted project costs and higher intergovernmental and property tax revenue. Special districts also show savings, mainly due to lower than anticipated costs for the sanitation district. Internal service funds and enterprise funds for airport operations add smaller amounts. Capital projects and other funds make up the rest. In short, these funds are stable and performing well. They help keep essential services running, like maintaining roads, supporting libraries, and managing infrastructure while staying within budget. Next, we'll switch gears a bit to look at the use of fund balance in the current year, specifically unlocked reserves. Today's item before the board includes 2 recommendations regarding the use of unlocked reserves. These proposals were developed based on prior board direction and also guidance from the ad hoc subcommittee on sustainable fiscal planning, and together total $56.2 million in 2 areas. The first, recommendation 17, totals $8.75 million and is based on board direction related to the Tijuana River Valley response, including a Southern Boulevard pipe extension, expanding the air purifier program administered by the Air Pollution Control District, and 2 health studies. Recommendation 19 includes strategic, time-critical investments totaling $47.4 million in various areas detailed in Appendix D to the board letter. In the areas of housing, for rental assistance and affordable housing development, vulnerable populations, supporting domestic violence shelters, senior nutrition, and hunger relief, sustainability, for habitat conservation and development compliance with the multiple species conservation plan, and infrastructure, including critical facility maintenance and technology upgrades. Appendix D of the board letter includes the proposed amount of funding for each of these areas in bold, with italicized language that indicates staff will return to the board as needed with details on the implementation and authority to operationalize programs within these areas. Balance of unlocked reserves available in the current year. A total of $95.4 million of unlocked reserves is available for this fiscal year. 25% of the total amount of $381.6 million based on the updated administrative code. This slide summarizes the activity to date. In December, the board approved $14.2 million for one-time lump sum payments to employees as provided for in county compensation ordinance. Today's recommendations include $8.75 million for the Tijuana River Valley and $47.4 million to respond to the needs of our communities, providing housing, supporting vulnerable populations, environmental sustainability, and ensuring that the county's infrastructure continues to support operations safely and effectively. If approved by the board today, $25 million of unlocked reserves would remain this year for future needs, consistent with administrative code lists. Let's turn now to a look ahead. In In summary, the economy shows mixed signals with short-term challenges in federal and state revenues. County general purpose revenue is growing, but so are county expenditures. We continue to monitor expenditure and revenue growth to ensure ongoing balance. The recommended budget will continue to prioritize mandated programs and will involve some very difficult decisions. We'll also have to take a look at service levels of mandated programs and effectiveness of discretionary programs. Ongoing updates will be provided to the board. Ultimately, the goal is to align operational priorities, community needs, and county priorities with the resources that are available to the county. State and federal budgets have a direct and significant impact on county resources. We recognize that it is not feasible to resolve all challenges at once. Large and complex issues such as the impacts of H.R. 1 will require a phased and deliberate approach to ensure thoughtful and sustainable solutions. Stabilization funding will be prioritized with gradual, measured investments in key areas over time. This approach allows us to maintain operational stability while addressing critical needs over time. It's important to note that the county only appropriates funds based on available resources. Our goal is to be the best possible stewards of public funds, directing resources to programs that serve the region while guided by fiscal responsibility and the resources we have at hand. We'll leverage all available resources to meet our objectives. This includes general purpose revenue, program-specific revenue, available fund balances, reserves, and unlocked reserves in accordance with the board's framework, and where appropriate, debt financing to promote intergenerational equity, spreading the cost of long-lived capital assets over the generations who will benefit from their use. The county is committed to advancing equity and addressing disparities that have impacted our communities. We know county resources simply aren't enough to meet every need, and the board's prioritization will be critical. With this context, let's look at the request for at the last board meeting, based on the discussion of the allocation of achievement dollars, the Chief Administrative Officer agreed to return today with a report on the current one-time funding requests. As noted earlier, today's report projects a $10 million net general fund operating result, which would add to the general fund balance. At first glance, that may appear to create new opportunities for investment. However, it is important to view this within the broader fiscal landscape. Historically, the county relied on fund balance as a one-time resource to support one-time operational costs, like categories listed on this slide. That approach worked when our operational footprint was smaller. But in recent years, the county has intentionally expanded services, establishing new offices, increasing staffing, and adding programs to meet community needs. These were deliberate choices, but they also created ongoing obligations, leaving thinner margins for departments and less capacity to generate year-end balances. With that context, the categories listed on this slide are core to the county's programs. They're essential to maintaining operations, absorbing rising costs, and meeting commitments that have already been made, either to the community or to our employees. These are things like supporting affordable housing, updates to information technology data centers, mitigating environmental impacts and reducing greenhouse gases, the stormwater program, maintaining county infrastructure, replacing the Vista Detention Facility, including a behavioral health wellness campus, and funding the labor agreements that have been approved and incorporated into the county's compensation ordinance. The reality is that we will not be able to pay for all of these items listed on this slide within the county's current revenue. In fact, it would be prudent to program available one-time capacity, including projected fund balance, to strengthen the county's support of the existing cost structure, protecting core services, supporting our workforce, and avoiding future reductions that could result from initiating efforts that are not sustainable. Given the magnitude of the request before us, prioritization can be supported with existing resources. Current dollars would be more wisely used on current obligations and requests. The county team will continue pursuing funding opportunities and leveraging all funding sources with consideration of the dynamic federal and state landscape. For large capital investments with a multi-generational useful life, we will continue evaluating appropriate long-term financing strategies to support generational equity and spread the cost out amongst all who will benefit from the facility. These strategies may include general fund supported partnerships or general obligation bonds. As we move forward in the current budget process, the county team will continue to refine these requests, scaling them to align with available revenue and seeking board and community input to ensure we effectively prioritize the county's cost structure, managing projected needs in the short and long term to ensure continued support of our region and our communities. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a major update on county finances, subject to
Making sure I lost some remark. We have 39 requests to speak on this item. 23 in person, 16 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 58 comments, 55 in support and 1 neutral. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 13 and Fire Protection District item 2 by phone, please dial under the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers in this item, you'll have 1 minute to address the board, and I'll ask you to begin by stating your name and the audio record. I will be calling you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen. I'd like to invite for the first 3 individuals, Karina Pugh, Alana Martinson, and Melinda Forsay. Call your name. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Karina Pugh. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm speaking in support of this item on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center and the San Diego LGBTQIA+ regional table. We are adult housing. Last year, our table advocated in support of a similar allocation in the budget cycle, and with significant community support, we secured an allocation to fund these programs through June of this year. Last year, over 800 residents of the county signed a petition supporting the funding of already had over 200 folks sign a similar petition in support of this funding. The broader San Diego community is ready to see our elected officials invest in community-centered programs that provide critical services to our most vulnerable populations in a cost-effective and efficient manner, preventing homelessness and protecting their dignity. Programs like these are investments in public safety and public health, and San Diego cannot afford to disinvest in programs that keep our community safe and housed. Please support this item and its allocations to LGBTQIA+ housing.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Alana Martinson. I'm here on behalf of Serving Seniors, a San Diego-based nonprofit that serves over 1.5 million meals to low-income older adults annually. We are in support of this item, particularly the usage of unlocked reserves for senior nutrition. Free home-delivered meals and in-person meals for older adults are preventative. I've spoken to seniors at our congregate meal sites who shared that they came for the meals and stayed for the conversation. I've watched our home-delivered meal drivers check in on their clients with the care of a loved one. Nutrition keeps seniors healthy, happy, and housed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. As the next speakers coming forward, I'll invite 3 additional speakers. Gloria Cruz Cardenas, Brock Abbott, and Stephanie Roach. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Melinda Forsey, and I'm the President and CEO of Serving Seniors. First, I do want to just thank all of you for being amazing advocates and champions for older adults. We are here to share our strong support of the use of unlocked reserves to continue providing essential services. These programs meet the most basic needs, food and housing, and they keep older adults healthy, independent, and housed. The majority of the seniors we serve are living off of less than $10 a day after paying rent. That means they need to choose between food, transportation, and other basic needs. I want to specifically highlight the importance of funding our nutrition program meals they receive are not just extra, they may be the only food that they have that day. This investment prevents homelessness and protects health. Please consider this, and thank you for your leadership and inspiration.
Hello supervisors, my name is Gloria Cruz Cardenas. I'm the Chief Impact Officer at the San Diego LGBT Community Center and a member of the San Diego LGBTQIA+ regional team. Thank you for including the $3.2 million towards the LGBTQIA+ housing. Through these housing programs, it costs the county approximately $775 per service visit to help keep someone out of homelessness, which is less than 2%, the average $42,000 it costs to support someone already experiencing homelessness. This program saves the county thousands of dollars while supporting people who need the services the most. LGBTQIA+ community members are more likely to become homeless, and once homeless, more likely to endure discrimination that extends their homelessness. Our LGBTQIA+ affirming programs provide this trauma-informed, culturally competent services they need, which is rooted in the decades of service to our community. I urge
to ensure our community is able to remain stable, permanent housing. As we see cuts to essential services from our federal government and critical resources for queer and trans folks, proven successful team members. Thank you for your past and current investment in these contracts and this funding, and for your time this afternoon. I hope you consider the fully funding services moving forward.
Thank you. Next speaker coming forward by three additional speakers: Gus Hernandez, Gilbert Obero, and Jen Linder.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Roach. I'm a proud SEIU Local 221 member. I've been a dedicated county employee for the last 7 years. I currently Justice downtown, where our reception is the backbone of our operations. I've been in their shoes and I know the impact they can make. They are often the first line of contact for our clients and our partners. Some clients have never even been through the court process. If they or a victim need to get in contact with an officer for services, they call us. Caused by staffing shortage barrier. Across the county, staffing levels and vacancies remain a real concern. When line staff experiences these shortages, employees feel operational strain even when adjustments are made. When funding shifts happen, we want to make sure that workers that are already stretched thin are not asked to do even more or less. I want to thank the board for bringing this item forward, and thank you for consideration as you vote yes for this item.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Cam, and I'm here to ask you to support this item, which includes a $3.2 million allocation to fund innovative adult housing services. I support the allocations under this item, which will benefit all San Diegans, including marginalized and underserved communities. Innovative adult housing services have been immensely successful in providing stable housing and wraparound services to vulnerable populations, including LGBTQIA+ individuals across San Diego County. These services are provided by providers with lived experience who can provide culturally competent care and wraparound services. Clients served through these contracts gain access to direct housing services and are brought into a wraparound service model in which they are able to access services for a broad scope of needs, including behavioral health services. Thank you for your support, and please vote to pass this item.
Good afternoon, Chair and Supervisors. My name is Phil Olvera. I'm the Director of the Housing Justice Collaborative at Legal Aid Society San Diego, and I'm here to support the unlocking of the county reserve funds. Legal Aid administers the Tenant Legal Services program. As a partnership with the County of San Diego, we provide low-income San Diegans with free legal help, case management, and emergency rental assistance with the aims of preventing homelessness. In 2025, 90% of the households reported homelessness when their cases were closed, with about 81% remaining in their homes. Free legal services are life-changing, practical, and fiscally smart. Just as preventative healthcare can avoid costly ER visits, eviction prevention avoids a high public cost of homelessness. A single chronically homeless person costs the government up to $50,000 a year, while the TLS average about $1,400 per household who receive legal services, case management, and rental assistance. Currently, the 40% cut we receive in 2026 is proportionally impacts districts 1, 2, and 5, and I ask you to support this. Thank you.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like three additional speakers: Carol McBurney, Joanne Franciscus, and Leslie Audra.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Jen Winberry, and I'm the managing attorney of the Supplemental Security Income Team at Legal Aid Society of San Diego. We represent adults applying for SSI or SSDI who are referred through county general relief or mental health clubhouses. We also assist children with disabilities through direct screenings. Our team handles every stage of the process: initial applications, appeals, hearings, and federal court review when necessary. Mental health conditions or long-term medical issues. Without legal help, many simply cannot go through this process alone. When someone is approved for SSI or SSDI, it often means the difference between chronic instability and a path toward housing, medical care, and basic financial security. These benefits are not just monthly income, they are often the key that unlocks housing vouchers, access to ongoing medical treatment, and long-term stability. That ripple effect is what makes this work so impactful. I ask you to get a fully funded SSI program.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol McBurney, a Deputy Director at Legal Aid Society of San Diego. We support the funding of the Supplemental Security Income Program and Tenant Legal Services Program as a fiscally responsible choice. With recent changes to federal and state funding, county funding for disability-related legal services and housing legal services is now more important than ever for San Diego County's city, suburban, and rural community members. County funding for supplemental security income legal services for disabled children and adults returns the benefit to this community multiple times over. First, by ensuring that some of the most vulnerable disabled members of our community have the resources to stay housed and off our streets. Second, by connecting them with mental health and medical services. And third, by bringing millions of dollars of federal Social Security funding into our local San Diego community annually. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Franciscus. I'm the CEO of the Legal Aid Society of San Diego. We provide free legal services to lower-income San Diegans in areas of law most fundamental to their well-being, including tenant legal services and SSI. Despite the demand for these services exceeding our current capacity, funding for these services is being cut almost in half, which will have catastrophic consequences. LASSD does more than just help people resolve a legal issue. We provide wraparound services that address the root causes of poverty so that people can thrive. I personally a client called us in crisis, we went out, intervened, and saved a life that otherwise would have ended that day. Fairly successful and efficient. In addition, they saved taxpayers money. For every $1 invested in legal aid, so the social return on investment is $7. Funding these services is morally and fiscally responsible governing. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll invite three additional speakers: Cesar Javier, Casey Shirk, and Jennifer Royston.
Jennifer's not here. It is interesting to see when people show up for the budget, because money whores always want to come in and get any kind of money you can get. But anybody that actually wants to help the community gets, kind of pushed out from doing that. And it's interesting to see how much money that you guys spend, and looking at the world around us and how much better it could be if you guys actually really cared about humanity and not just exploiting people or having them check a certain box and excluding them if they don't completely agree with everything that you guys support, which is completely demonic. But it is just showing where our world is at and how money is the root of all evil. I mean, children get exploited on a day, like that's where all the money comes from, with all of these people in power that people want to go against. But it's like, when it comes down to really like standing in the gap for our future, nobody wants to do that, but you come here and, get on the knee and beg for money for
to destroy our community even further. Good job.
Thank you.
Cesar Curita, District 4, County, District 9, City. My God, Jesus. Unacceptable. We do not know I remember my engineering says per CPM, we can do many things at the same time for the sake of time, saving lives. Work on the priorities, my fellow citizens. God help us, victims of the Juana River Valley pollution. Mama dear, this should be a priority. At the same time, provide housing for our homeless victims of, is it ignorance or you are neglected? I'm sorry, God help us.
Madam Steve, City of San Diego.
I'll call three additional speakers: Natasha Salgado, Alexis Martin, and Jessica Vargas. Call the team. Let's move forward.
Good afternoon, Chair and Supervisors. My name is Natasha Salgado, and I serve as Vice President of Programs and Strategic Initiatives with City Heights Community Development Corporation. I'm here in support of item 13, including the use of unlocked reserves to renew eviction prevention services through the Coordinated Eviction Prevention System. From an implementation perspective, eviction prevention is one of the most effective upstream strategies to prevent homelessness before it occurs. Continued funding allows us to intervene early, stabilizing families facing medical hardships, job disruption, or sudden financial crisis before displacement turns into homelessness. We regularly work with hardworking families who are one unexpected expense away from losing their housing. When we are able to step in early with rental assistance, case management, and landlord coordination, families remain stably housed and avoid the long-term trauma and instability of displacement. Renewing these services protects housing stability and reduces strain on emergency and shelter services. I respectfully urge your approval on item 13. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Alexis, and I'm here in support of item 13, unlocking the reserves to continue eviction prevention services through STEPS. I'm a former STEPS case manager. I work with families facing medical emergencies, disability delays, sudden income loss, through rental assistance and landlord stabilize household before crises escalated into homelessness. Many clients have shared with us that this program restored hope during some of the most difficult moments of their lives. This investment keeps families housed and it strengthens our community, and I respectfully urge you to your approval of item 13. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speakers coming forward, my three additional speakers: Antonia Ago, David Duarte, and Max Dispolsky.
Good afternoon, my name is Jessica and I'm with City Heights Community Development Corporation. As a former eviction prevention case manager, I assist individuals who experience shame, fear, and stigma after receiving an eviction notice. Through these programs, many have received rental assistance and were connected to long-term support to stabilize their income. To enable families remain housed and with the necessary tools to thrive. The eviction is more than a forced move, it's a destabilizing event. Efforts to reduce the stigma keeps families together and prevents homelessness within the starts. Eviction prevention programs are a critical proactive necessity to keep families stably housed, preventing the severe lasting impacts of homelessness, financial ruin, and ability to secure future housing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Antonia Ago, and I'm with City Heights Community Development Corporation. I'm here in support of item 13, unlocking the reserve process. As CHCDC, we supported a participant who experienced a serious medical emergency and was facing eviction while trying to recover. Through rental assistance, food resources and direct coordination with her landlord, she and her family were able to remain housed during a very vulnerable time. Eviction prevention protects families before crisis becomes homelessness. I respectfully urge you to approve and attend. Thank you very much.
Community organizer and power building specialist at the LGBT Center and member of the LGBTQIA regional station. You're going to hear a lot of people today asking you to spend on inside the opposite and asking you to raise the mic up. 775 people, $775 to keep someone housed, 42,000 on the street. For LGBTQIA people who face high rates of homelessness and discrimination makes it last longer. This $3.2 million isn't a cost, it's a 98% savings. Builds on decades of trust with people who have failed everywhere else. Lieutenant Works, I urge
Thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon. Yes.
We call the additional speakers.
Sure.
Dan Naimonga and Nayala Arvelo.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. My name is Max Discosti. I'm the Executive Director Founder at the North County LGBT Resource Center in District 5, Oceanside and beyond. And I'm also part of the regional LGBT table. We're in support of this proposal, and this is why. In addition to the well-known disparities that LGBT people have experienced in our region, such as poverty, homelessness, and discriminatory policies, in the last year alone, we have dealt with a wave of false and violent narratives that are targeting our LGBT people and trans folks in particular even further. We have served people that are afraid to come forward to even seek help, and now they're afraid to make claims against the landlord, and those that have been kicked out of the family for just being who they are. So thank you for your leadership in seeking solutions for the people that struggle the most in our region. And I truly believe in this. A healthy and thriving region is measured by the way we support and uplift the women and our whole diverse community. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Evan Manga, convener coordinator at the Center Transforming Body. The federal administration is guiding programs and services that provide food, healthcare, and housing assistance, the most basic building blocks of our survival. This cuts attacks our youth, our seniors, and working class who depend on them every day. The county must not only counter federal attacks on our safety nets, but also ensure we do not return to the status quo. Instead, we must prioritize people-centered budget and invest in community well-being so everyone has the support they need to thrive. Not policies that prioritize criminalization and corporate interests. And therefore, I do that I respectfully support this motion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nella Pronostriker, and I'm here on behalf of Trans Family Support Services as well as the San Diego LGBTQIA Regional Table. We are grateful that the budget asks for LGBTQIA housing is being included through the unknown reserves. These programs provide critical LGBTQIA affirming housing support to community members who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. People remain stably housed and prevent the trauma and high public cost of homelessness before it happens. These services are working, they are needed, and they save lives. Today we respectfully ask for 4 votes yes to ensure these contracts continue without interruption. Thank you for your leadership and your consideration.
Thank you. Final call for Casey Shirks and Jennifer Royston. Seeing anyone next in the chamber will not give notice that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll begin with our first call.
Although the funds are fiscally very uncertain, maybe more clawback too, both federal and state, by the way. It's good to keep some in reserves, and these funds are only projected. The recommendations were good except for 18 to 20. Number 18, proposed pipeline in TJ River Valley would be expensive to maintain. An above ground concrete or hard plastic lining would be better. We do not need more health studies, and we should look at better things than air purifiers, which work as long as you pollution monitor to zero in and find out where the crap is coming from. We need to get that solved. Number 19. I'm sure that we can do mapping of unincorporated areas where it's vulnerable infrastructure for less than 2 points.
Thank you. Next caller.
Consuelo. Okay, so depleting the reserves for a bunch of estimates. Got it. How about bypass the reserves and just donate from your salary, Tara? Help the helpless Alphabet Army. The they then. You know, it's real pride. Real pride is not relying on government for anything. If you truly care about the budget, then give up your salary. You care about community, right? Let's see you give up your money while still fighting for the people, as you convinced yourselves you're doing. You won't. You're in that chair because it's lucrative. The only change you look forward to is your bank account going up and climbing that political ladder. You love the position of power, don't you? You make as close to $300,000 being in that chair. Who knows how much more from outside interest? Hard times call for sacrifice. You'll be fine with the $100K, Tara. Donate the rest. Help reduce the struggle on the ones dependent on government. Any sane leader would. Any sane leader should.
Thank you. Next caller.
A truth under progressive fraud, waste, and abuse of tax dollars for 6 years running. The budget has increased again by $13 million, totaling a record $8.6 billion. Unlocked reserves translates to stolen savings on scams such as APC and as well as $4 million air purifier bricks, government-owned stack attacks, $2.5 million for a temporary pipe at Savin Boulevard to increase Mexican sewage flows because that's what Manuel studies, because Manuel is just like Nora Vargas, and $14.2 million in union campaign funders kickback bonuses. No $212,000 BS salaries and benefits because it will not go to desperately needed staff, thereby continuing the county's animal neglect and cruelty at the shelters. No political organization known as Legal Aid Society who only helps people that are so poor they're practically already homeless. For as many tax dollars as they receive, they should service everyone. No does nothing but harm canvases, equipment, and livestock, emergency shelter, and trailers. Back to basics.
Thank you. Next caller.
Again, impact at SBCS. I'm humbled to be here today to say thank you for insurance funding for Casa Mariposa, the region's largest domestic violence shelter. We know how strained the county's budget is, and we are grateful that you have found a way to help us keep the shelter open. Casa Mariposa exists in large part because courageous public leaders chose to stand with survivors, and we are profoundly grateful. With this funding, you are helping us to serve one of San Diego's most vulnerable populations and ensure that those suffering from the horrors of domestic violence have a safe place to seek shelter, services, and stability. When we opened Casa Mariposa in 2024, we almost doubled the number of beds available in the region, and we were nearly full on day one. This is a clear demonstration of the needs of victims and families seeking shelter. Casa Mariposa is open 24 hours a day and provides trauma-informed care and support to victims. We have served nearly 350 families in the short time the shelter has been open, and look forward to serving.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board, Dan Silver, Endangered Habitats League. We wish to lend our support to recommendation 19 of the board letter shown in Appendix D under sustainability. This would make available $2 million in otherwise unspent monies for the MSCP, which is much needed. This will support recreation, biodiversity, and permit streamline. Thank you.
Thank you. Next call.
I got a question for you guys. LGBTQ, A, P, C, D, whatever group of people off the street. What are the numbers, and why are we investing so much money in that? I mean, seriously, do we have a number? Groups that are all homeless? Or is this just a speaking point for that actually means nothing? Because there must be a problem for you guys to constantly be throwing money at it. So you must throw a number, but I can't find anything anywhere. Is that much like you saying you're going to go ahead and look into the voter fraud exactly where it said and not really do it? Are these just speaking points like, hey, we go ahead and support young black inventors, but, you know, we pay Congress to go ahead and rebuild his machinery so that we can give it to the private sector, when all he wants to do is recycle plastic, much like you guys.
Thank you. Next call.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Curry, and I'm speaking on behalf of Outdoor Outreach, a San Diego-based nonprofit connecting youth to the outdoors and reducing barriers to access. I'm also honored to speak on behalf of the Tijuana River Coalition. Many of the youth we serve in communities directly impacted by the pollution are in the Tijuana River Valley, and we've seen firsthand how this ongoing crisis limits access to safe, healthy outdoor spaces and affects families' well-being. Thank you to the board for your vote last month approving these related critical items. We are deeply grateful for your commitment to communities disproportionately impacted by this crisis. We especially appreciate the funding for the air purifier program, the Saturn Boulevard hotspot, and health studies to assess long-term impacts. These investments address urgent air quality needs, infrastructure improvements, and community health. And I look forward to the day children can enjoy this region's beauty, play at their local beach without fear, and touch their first wave with joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chair Lawson River, that concludes public comments.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm focused on two areas that I think are worthy of highlight. As always, the entire presentation is very thorough. Public safety groups substantial negative variance. Joe indicated that we're still working on that, right-sizing that. But I would like to note that according to the report, every business group is projected to end the year with positive operating balance, except for the public safety group, which is currently showing $28.2 million negative general fund balance, significant. A question as far as just our general budget principles go, related to government finance. What are the implications of the department having a negative fund balance?
So with regard to the negative fund balance, and I'll just speak to generalities, although it will apply to what's happening in the public safety group right now, is negative fund balance can be a result of either exceeding your appropriations, which is spending beyond what you've been authorized to spend, or under-realizing revenues. And so in the case where you're under-realizing revenue, because the county has to stay balanced, we would have to find a way in order to backfill those revenue as needed, whether it is on a one-time basis or if it's finding an ongoing, well, in this instance, it would be finding a one-time source of money to end the year. In the case of exceeding appropriations, usually what we do here as a county team is we look to see how we might be able to help a department to spend within its authority. And in the case that doesn't happen, there is a section of state government code that does that department heads are responsible for any amount that is spent in appropriations.
Okay, thank you for that. It's important to address. We could have additional potential impacts of the general fund's ability to respond to additional emergencies, create pressure to pull on reserves, increase likelihood of service cuts elsewhere. So I know that you all are working on that. But I do want to acknowledge also that the implementation of Prop 36, which increased the average daily jail population between on the budget, and that trend does underscore such as diversion programs, restorative justice, rehabilitation, and reentry support. I believe that won't go into it too far, but I believe that reducing the jail population pressures is not only a matter of policy and public health, but also critical to supporting stabilizing the fiscal outlook of the public safety system. So that I want to go into the next area, which is the recommendations from the ad hoc subcommittee. I want to thank the CAO and the entire staff for in supporting your work in supporting these initiatives and investments in shallow rent subsidy, tenant legal services, LGBTQ housing support, affordable housing development, community violence prevention efforts, the extending the county senior nutrition program, and then hunger relief grants. So these are meaningful investments that strengthen housing stability, expand tenant protection, support community safety programming, and ensure that seniors and families have access to nutrition and basic needs. Very grateful to see these priorities reflected in this quarter's funding action, and I do believe that this is certainly an investment in our community that helps our budgetary process. Because as people move from the county's budget, that we won't have that funding. So I want to thank our community partners for doing this work, for being here today. And my hope is that we remain attentive to both sides of this report, those fiscal risks that we're facing, the public safety group, and then meaningful community investments enabled through our unlocked reserves. So with that, I know that we need a motion. There's a very, very long recommendation. And thank goodness so far right now, Andrew does not have to read it. I don't have any changes right now. So I will move the recommendation as currently.
Thank you. Very long. Thank you. Reflecting lots of work by the team. Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. Thanks for the presentation. I'm happy to see that we can make the $6 million for county fire, new fire engines and other vehicles for public safety. On the process in which they were brought forward. It's no secret I'm not a fan of spending reserves. Recommendation 19 is very concerning for me, and so I'm going to ask at the end of item 19. The recommendation is asking the board to approve spending $47 million of unlocked reserves that are mostly going to ongoing programs. And this is one-time dollars. One-time monies on ongoing programs is not a formula for success. While I'm supportive of many of the efforts this money would go towards, what happens when this money runs out? And there's no replacement mechanism. And like I said, these are one-time monies, and once we spend reserves, that money's gone. It's never going to be replaced. So if these programs are a priority, we should fund them in the regular budget cycle, not through our emergency reserves. And quite frankly, today we are playing a shell game with $47 million. So that it requires only 3 votes, because it's technically a transfer and not new spending. Well, it is new spending. These 47 million are from the people's reserves. The item describes it as operational savings, but the fiscal impact makes it clear that this money is coming from unlocked reserves. I believe it's ridiculous that today, within this item, that it takes 4 votes to approve $112,000 for animal services, but for the 47 million, it only requires 3 votes. So for recommendation 17, I'm supportive of spending the reserve dollars, one-time costs, on the associated Saturn Boulevard pipe extension, the air purifiers that we already have. We did that last meeting. I don't know why. Oh well. The only thing is, I'm not supportive of the $2.25 million for the health studies. We know what's causing the issue in Tijuana River. It's the sewage coming across the border. So I'm not in favor of that. That's the 3rd bullet on item 17. But I would like to ask the maker of the motion if it's okay for bifurcating item 19 and voting separately on that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we don't necessarily expect it.
Oh.
So I don't necessarily have an issue with it. Right?
Okay. So the motion on the floor, we'll make the motion to allow it.
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to quickly say, as we navigate these challenges, it is all the more reason to lean into actions that provide us physical health of the county. We as a county have to prioritize budget decisions that address the needs of vulnerable individuals and families proactively rather than waiting to intervene after issues worsen. Doing so ensures more efficient use of limited public funds and aligns with the expectations communities have for government to help protect the dignity of people and help meet their basic needs. Since I ran, I have been very clear about the importance of leveraging unlocked reserves to protect South Bay residents from the harms of Trump's H.R. 1, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, as well as protecting people from the harms of the ongoing Tijuana River pollution crisis. And for too long, District 1 residents have been left behind by their county government, with their economic opportunity and well-being neglected or outright ignored. Not anymore. I am incredibly pleased to see many projects included in the proposed budget adjustments today that deliver on the promises I made to the people of District 1 that they will no longer be left behind. Some of these proposals that can be funded by unlocked reserves include the over $9 million in rental subsidies and tenant. We will support helping keep roofs over the heads of vulnerable families and individuals and protecting them from the horrible social and health-related consequences of eviction and homelessness. $2.8 million in food assistance to protect working families, their children, and seniors from experiencing the harms of malnutrition. A $5 million grant to assist the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans with the development of an immigrant and refugee support center along with affordable housing units. And $1.5 million in funding to support the needs of domestic violence victims. All of these investments support critical efforts that protect our neighbors from the harms and senseless funding cuts advanced by Trump's H.R. 1. In regard to the pollution crisis, we know the pipe extension at Saturn Boulevard, the hotspot as it's known, as well as the expansions to the air purifier efforts to protect public health. Regarding the $4 million expansion for air purifier distribution, we have to remember that this program is harmed by air pollution from the Tijuana River. We know that's not a permanent solution, but directing these resources to these affected zip codes will help the families that so desperately need protection. And last but not least, I'd like to take a moment to thank Mayor Gloria for his partnership and shared commitment to supporting survivors of domestic violence in our region. The City of San Diego's support in helping fund Casa Mariposa, a critical domestic violence shelter in District 1, demonstrates what is possible when jurisdictions work together with confidence. That concludes my remarks. Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Anderson, please.
I have a few questions. With item number 17 in the health study, can anybody explain? I understand the purpose of the health study, but what are we going to do with it? Once we get the determination from it, I was hoping.
I think Supervisor Gary has volunteered. We continue to wait for a state of emergency declaration from our current president, which he has not yet declared. We know that that's what we need so that we can immediately exempt bidding and procurement processes and permitting processes so that we can actually address the main source of pollution, which is the river itself. Administrator Zeldin was here, he celebrated the advancements that have been made, but none of that goes to tackle the main source of pollution. Now, that's one thing. Secondly, the EPI study will tell us exactly what is making it into people's bodies. So anybody that says that this is useless information doesn't understand the basics of medicine. We need to know exactly what's happening in people's bodies. We need to know how urgent, and we know it's urgent. But if you don't know if your body's breathing in carcinogenics on a daily basis and to what degree, it's like so the ultimate goal is to remove the main source of pollution to us, and for that we need the assistance from our state and federal administrations as fast as possible.
Thank you very much for that. I'd like to point out 3 things. One, the tour of your district was very helpful to me. 2, that could have been a slower softball pitch to help you get your voice heard. So, only that I gave you a 4.
I'm not angry. I'm just very passionate about this because
I know you are.
When people say that it's senseless or useless information, they're not living in the district and breathing alongside me on a daily basis.
I took the tour. I know that, but it didn't come out, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts. And I would like to say that the study is probably one of the most important things we could do, only because this is the second president who hasn't done anything about it. We had 4 years of nothing done prior, so perhaps with more science, we'll have more success with it. I have a couple questions for staff. So we talk about HR1, and we talked about how HR1 is cutting off funding for these programs. Do we have any numbers of how much money has been cut and which programs are being affected?
Scale, I would just say that we are monitoring the impacts of HR1 that largely we see that it will be phased in. And to speak to more details, I'd like to call forward the county's Deputy Chief Financial Officer, Amy Johnson.
Supervisor for the question. So what Joan says is exactly right. We do anticipate, we're planning right now as part of the budget for a significant impact for administration funding for CalFresh, and rolling out into the subsequent years, we would expect to also see potential funding impacts for CalFresh benefits. We are seeing impacts likely to the recipients of our safety net program starting this year, but the funding doesn't necessarily come directly to us. But recipients will start to see impacts this year.
So do we have programs that have lost funding or will lose funding before this June?
We do have, not necessarily tied directly to HR1, but we have certainly some programs within public health that have lost funding. Our CalFresh Healthy Living Program, which funded services within public health services, is experiencing reductions. I think we have some, looking at Dr. Hernandez, because she might step into some immunization funding. that is being reduced, and certainly other public health services, grants from the CDC that have been targeted and have temporary restraining orders in place that we are monitoring very carefully there.
So when I look at, say, the tenant legal services where we're giving $3 million, has that been hit by HR1?
So tenant legal services right now is a county funded, our portion is funded using general purpose revenue. That was a program that was funded with one-time funding under the American Rescue Plan Act. And so as those funds have been spent, we have reductions there to align with available county funds.
Will that fund run to zero before our budget process?
No, the reduction though is in place currently this year. It went from about $3 million annually to $1.5 million annually. That reduction did occur in fiscal year 25-26.
The affordable housing development, we have $5 million going to that. How is that HR? I mean, is that affected by HR1?
I think with a lot of the programs that are listed on attachment D as candidates for unlocked reserves are envisioned to help the same population that would be impacted from all of the safety net ramifications of the changes to federal funding and the additional that could make it more difficult to keep people connected to care. That makes sense.
We have in June, we open our budget process. So that $5 million, are we out of money? Or are we doing the budget before the budget process? Because that $5 million, will it be spent before June?
If I may, I'd ask Amy to come up just to speak to where we saw federal funding impacts in our county programs. And now I go the line of questions has moved.
By the way, I had no idea that the answer. Amy answered the last question. I'm not trying to put her on the spot.
Okay, so I just wanted to
slide
and talk a little bit about the, thank you, Amy.
Let me tell you what I'm going through. I'm going through Schedule D, and I'm looking at this stuff, and most of this exercise was, and I'm very open to it, and I agree to it. They're impacting us and backfilling those cuts. But this is far exceeding any cuts or anything. My constituents are very smart people. They're going to say, we're creating slush funds that are going to roll over to next year's budget. And we're actually playing games with our budget by asking for money that's not necessary or needed in the moment. And avoiding the very open public process of doing the budget. So, I don't like that we're doing this in this fashion. I find it not transparent whatsoever. When we look at doing things that are projecting programs out 2 years in advance, that's what the budget process is for. The other thing is, when we start talking about giving money to specific organizations instead of creating pots of money that people can apply for, then we're picking winners and losers. And I'm just wondering, in the City Heights Community Development, I'm sure they do incredible work, but I don't ever recall them ever doing work in District 2. And yet we're talking about $3.6 million for rental assistance there. But I don't see anywhere in here that District 2 has rental assistance whatsoever. Or the urban league of San Diego County. I'm sure they do incredible work with rental assistance. But again, budget process, these things under the light day with minutes, with open meetings, community input, nothing behind closed doors, everything in the light of day. And I feel very comfortable supporting all of it with that type of scrutiny, because we would be measuring all the needs. But giving people money far in excess of what they can spend in 3 months creates a slush fund that would allow us to do budget scale when I know none of my colleagues do that. But I don't want to be part of a process that isn't transparent and gives the notion that our thumb is on the scale for only some groups and some individuals, when I know everybody on this board in their heart wants to help everybody in the county. So I'd be happy if you want to go through. It'd be a much longer meeting, but if we went through a presentation of how we got to these numbers in depth, I would gladly support it if that makes sense. But if we wait 3 months, we can actually do that, and it's called a budget. And then it's an open public process that everybody gets to participate in. And the criteria used to select this. Can anybody share what the criteria was of why we prioritized these over anything else? I mean, how is that criteria determined, and who got to choose it?
So I will share a little bit about the background behind how this recommendation came to be. And it started in September of 2025, when county staff was directed to, when the reserve policy was revised, and county staff was then directed to come back to the board in January with a proposed framework on how to spend that amount of funding that was made available with the revision of board policy. That amount of money was called the unlocked reserves. And when we started to provide briefings to the board office, specifically when we made a presentation to the ad hoc subcommittee on sustainable fiscal planning, we realized that we missed the mark with what we were putting together. So when it comes to what the purpose of the unlocked reserves, I'll note that there are 4 items in the admin code that note what the unlocked reserves are for. One of them is direct response to a decline in federal funding. The next one is in recessionary environments. And then we also have another one that is for the CAO to bring forward any time critical items in the process that I had done in January. At that board meeting, the board directed the CAO to continue the work of putting together a framework for the unlocked reserves and to work under the advice and guidance of the ad hoc committee for sustainable fiscal planning. And so following that direction from January 28th, that is what we did. I will also share that prior to that meeting on January 28th, we did have a budget workshop, and we did hear from the community on many things that would be effective in helping to bolster the support that's needed in response to the volatility that we're seeing on the federal landscape. And so that's some context on how we move forward with putting together recommendation.
When you met with the ad hoc committee, were there any minutes or agenda or any public display of any presentations that somebody from District 2 could see or track or follow?
We did not, and I would defer to council on what I can share in terms of Brown Act rules, but I'm certainly happy just to speak in concept and principle of what happened here or in a separate situation.
I don't think there's need to ask a question. It's in the board, but this is a public meeting.
Okay. I'm not comfortable supporting this moving forward, although I love all the programs. If we want to have a more definite presentation so that I understand why we're choosing what we're choosing, and it doesn't just look like we're creating slush funds, because all this money's going to roll over. None of it's going to be spent. And if we were a year away from the budget, or 3 months from the budget, all this can be determined in the budget with the most public scrutiny. Nobody in my district complained I did something behind closed doors, that I did about any of that. I picked winners losers by naming specific organizations instead of pots of money that people can apply for. Everyone's going to understand with the highest and best belief that this is the best policy that the five of us can come up with. And I politely urge that in the future that subcommittees or ad hoc committees conduct their business in public with recordings, with minutes, and with notices, so that everybody in the public place, I know that you're trying to fix this. You all ran for office because you wanted to improve your community, and I believe that to my core. But I don't see how this is in the best interest of all of our districts and all our constituents if nobody believes that it was an open and fair process and that we weren't able to demonstrate how we came to the decision. But you know my beef, because I'm the only one that lives in the unincorporated, so I'm always thinking, how does this impact the unincorporated? And when I look at all this, too much of it doesn't impact the unincorporated at all. We all have unincorporated residents in our districts. And in my particular instance, they are some of the poverty-ridden communities of my district. And they need us to champion them more than folks that can afford other things. So having tenant legal services is important, having rental assistance is important. And of course, I've always supported affordable housing development. But unless find my way to support item 19, and so I'm glad to fight for that. Thank you.
Here, if I may just ask Jim to speak to the ordinance requirement for setting amounts based on age 25-26 thresholds versus 26-27.
Sure, and then also in response to some of your comments, Supervisor, I realize I should have shared that a lot of these items that are in this matrix are contemplated to be put to use this year. So much of it is for extension of existing programs that are currently funded with one-time sources. So there's that, and I should have mentioned that. To Ebony's point, based on the ordinance, at the time that it was adopted, it noted that whatever amount became available for Jeff Times, about $381 million. There's additional guardrails within the ordinance where 25% of that can be spent in any given fiscal year. So that total is about $95 million. So based on the ordinance, we're bound to $95 million of the unlocked reserve per year to go along. Certainly less is fine.
I appreciate that additional comment. That's why I asked, is this money going to be spent before our normal budget process? And if these dollar amounts match the reduction that we received, I would actually support it. But they far exceed the amount. And look, I'm guilty. We had $300,000 available, and I made a jump on it for the Shell rent, and I want to thank you all, except for the chair who supported it. I'm joking. I know you in your heart, you support it. But see, I didn't know the kind of people were looking at $2.7 million coming forward today. So, but we're not going to spend that $2.7 million, and we're bypassing that budget process. And I really want to see us go through the budget process. I don't think there should be a race to spend the reserves. And for the reserves, I plan to support 17, which is spending some of the unlocked reserves. But I believe it warrants it. This looks like we're just taking from the reserves and create slush fund for the budget. And when I voted in 2009, I believe I voted on an $86 billion California budget. I believe last year was in excess of $320 billion, almost 4 times years. And yet nothing's fixed. Once we go down this road, that money just fritters through our fingers. Not because we don't have good intentions. It's just the nature of the beast. And I want to be doggone sure these fundamental things are funded, and that nobody in South Bay is choking and poison in that we don't look like LA, where people haven't rebuilt in a year. Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you to my colleagues for being so thoughtful, allowing me to speak for so long.
Thank you, and I am appreciative that it feels like you share my enthusiasm for transparency around budget, so I look forward to working with you further on that as we move forward. So thank you so much. Just a couple things I want to uplift in this that I thought was really helpful. I noticed recommendations 2 and 3, which is this is about $9 million in county fire investments, new fire trucks, ambulance, water tenders, and a fire training tower. So that I thought was great. The recommendation 18, and that's about $9 million for attacking the Tijuana River Valley sewage crisis, and this includes supporting the infrastructure at Southern Boulevard and low-income health studies that have been with great passion, and the additional air purifiers to mitigate some of the immediate impacts in our community. So I appreciate that, and the leadership of the chair of the town in championing those initiatives. I also just wanted to uplift some of the core needs of our community that are being addressed here, needs that were unfunded or underfunded in the last budget cycle. This includes $18 million in housing investments, including tenant legal services and affordable housing and senior homelessness prevention, $6 million for supporting vulnerable populations, and other, I think, critical investments at this moment. So this is hard to do. There's just such huge demands on our resources at this time. I think it's thoughtful. I think it issues. Where I really see people in our community hurting, where we really need to be making investments. I'll be happy to second the motion acknowledging the bifurcation and appreciate that. We don't all have to agree all the time, but it's good to find the places that we can agree and be able to work together on the areas where we do have consensus. So I just also want to again thank the team. I think this was a huge work. Zooming way out, this is an incredibly small market that we're operating on, and I know when we were in sort of the COVID years with the ARPA funds, it's like a very different environment. The federal government, and we're in a really opposite situation right now. We're facing all these cuts and all these demands. So I just want to acknowledge the hard work. And the other piece that I do want to uplift is that I do see some departments working really hard to contain costs, and that's really difficult to do. And some of our departments are coming in, within what's projected in terms of matching expenditures and revenues, and really appreciate the work of those departments and programs. Definitely concerned about where we have like massive expenditures that are outpacing revenues, and we're seeing real shortfalls, which restrict our county systems as a whole. And so I think that we kind of need to think big picture strategy around that. And then the last thing I'll just note is I do, we obviously are in a budget process, and I, continue to encourage everyone that if people are concerned about specific kinds of services and programs or seeing impacts on their communities, you're reaching out as well to your supervisor, as Joan and Ed and are planning this to happen, frankly, getting a lot of input from board offices as this budget process moves forward. So looking forward to that as well, and I think that's going to be a really hard moment to figure out how to meet all of these needs. It's not going to be an easy budget. It's going to be a really difficult budget, but I am hopeful that with this a lot of the input that we're getting early on the front end around the budget, that we'll be able to target the most important and most critical needs for San Diego County. So again, thank you. The motion and a second. Any additional comments from any other comments?
One thing about the studies, third bullet is register. I opposed that.
Sorry, I want to look at this.
17, the third bullet, that's the studies.
Give me a second.
Yeah, no, the numbers got changed on the side. The 17, the third bullet. I'll just register no vote, not ask for a clarification on that third bullet.
Is this the step, I'm trying to find out, just looking, if this, that was the question I was trying to answer. That's it, okay, thank you. Yeah. So we have, so there's a motion on the floor, we're bifurcating it, we're gonna vote first on everything except 19, and then we're gonna vote on 19. And Supervisor Desmond is registering a no vote on the 2.5 for the studies in item 7, the new item 17, and the current motion that's on the floor. Follow? Okay. Please vote.
Chair Lawson Reno, that motion passes unanimously. All supervisors being present and voting aye. No. Voting no on recommendation 17 and third.
Okay, fantastic. And now we'll turn back to the recommendation.
And Chair Lawson Reno, recommendation 19 passes with Supervisors Anderson and Supervisor Desmond voting no. All other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you all so much. Really appreciate that. Okay, thank you all, and thank you for your endurance and staying up here. We've been staying here all day. So I'll turn this to the team for this next aspect.
Thank you, Chair Lawson, Mr. Weaver, and members of the board. Modern and well-maintained infrastructure is key to delivering our services to the public and providing safe and efficient workplaces for county employees. The county's CENA Capital Investments Plan is reviewed and revised annually to ensure alignment with your board's initiatives, community priorities, and the county's program needs. Due to the ongoing financial challenges of TURBOT, including rising program costs and limited revenues, fiscal year 26-27, or year one of the CENA, focuses on projects that are funded by program-specific revenue, along with those necessary for health, safety, and legal mandates. Projects that preserve or replace critical infrastructure are also included for your consideration. The recommendations before your board today will enable the team to move forward with short and long-term activities to align project timelines with anticipated funding sources. To present the overview today are Marco Medved, Director of General Services, and Jason Emmons, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Brian. This year, DGS continued to expand the capital planning, transparency, and accessibility through a collaborative Warren County events throughout the week. We had about 2,500 attendees, giving the public opportunities to engage directly with county subject matter experts, learn about the capital plan, and how to be part of the process. In addition to in-person engagement events, we're enhancing our website to provide more opportunities to engage the community. City being presented today recommends $82 million to be considered for inclusion in the operational plan, pending identification and availability of funding. County's anticipated capital funding need across the 5-year planning horizon is approximately $1 billion. The county's current portfolio contains 79 previously funded projects, which are in pre-construction, construction, or completion, with appropriations of nearly $800 million. Now we'll provide a project overview. This coming year, difficult decisions need to be made. The year one senior recommendation has been reduced to 9 projects totaling $80 million, of which $65 million of general funds needed. These projects include critical needs, maintenance of existing county assets, sustainability enhancements, and behavioral health and public safety improvements across the region. As a multi-year planning document, looking at other parts of the SEMA, monitoring closer to you in alignment with the criticality of the county's needs will be necessary. Next, we'll provide information about projects that have been previously approved in SEMA and are now in active state of pre-construction, construction, and completion. Our project management division is developing 15 projects for future construction, including the planning of our new behavioral. This detention modernization project includes 2 phases, estimated at $950 million. Phase 1 includes facility updates to meet current capacity, with comprehensive support functions like reentry and mental health program spaces. Phase 2 includes expansion of the facility to support future capacity needs and the addition of medical and reentry services. Funding for each phase will be identified and requested in future years, including years outside the 5-year planning window of the current SEMA. This priority project requires significant funding and is the largest anticipated project on the SEMA for the foreseeable future. With this in mind, Public Safety Group is leading a cross-functional team, including my team, finance staff, and sheriff, to review all funding options and structures. As noted earlier today in the second quarter economic update, this modernization project, as well as the full portfolio of SEMA projects, cannot be funded without bringing new funding options to the table, which may include partnerships with external organizations or private entities and the use of general obligation bonds. There are 4 projects currently under construction valued at $230 million. Projects include the Casa de Oro Library that will complete this summer in July, the County Animal Shelter in Santee, which is wrapping up in October. This week, on Thursday, we'll get started on the new acute psychiatric hospital within the Edgemoor Skilled Nursing Facility. In the last year, we completed 4 large capital projects valued at $270 million. In May of 25, we cut the ribbon on the public health lab at the County Operations Center. The new lab features state-of-the-art testing and region-wide interface. In November, we completed the replacement of numerous building systems past their useful life at the Hall of Justice. The East County Crisis Stabilization Unit will wrap up this month, providing a walk-in facility that offers a general approach to intervention and stabilization for those suffering from last July, we completed the COC consolidation, clearing 145,000 square feet on campus to make space for public health, while avoiding $150 million in new construction. Maintenance of existing infrastructure remains a top priority for the county. We need to take care of what we own. While the SEMA prioritizes new construction and significant upgrades, a separate planning document, the Major Maintenance Implementation Plan, or MIP for short, focuses on operational continuity of long-term infrastructure and critical maintenance of assets and equipment. The MMIP is a 2-year forecast developed concurrently with SEMA. MMIP projects generally cover building renovations, sustainability and electrification efforts, new mechanical and electrical equipment, roof replacements, repair of structural systems or equipment such as new play structures and county parks. We complete hundreds of major maintenance projects each year. Some recent examples include renovation of the Substance Use Residential Treatment Services or CERTS facility, softening at East Mesa Juvenile Detention Facility, and the installation of LED lights and fixtures at the COC chambers. This year, we've identified $82 million of need to cover critical MLIP requests in the coming year for 26, 27, or year one. And I'll turn it to Jason.
Thank you, Marco. Currently, we have 35 projects with $87 million in funding in pre-construction, including a comprehensive trail restoration project at Dictionary Hill and Spring Valley, sewer and electrical upgrades at Felicia Park, and a new staging area in Boston. There are 12 parks projects valued at $100 million in active construction. Projects include the restoration of the West Basin at Lindley Park, a new park in San Luis Ray River Park, and a new outdoor classroom at Los Panisquitos Preserve. This fiscal year, we completed 9 projects valued at $29 million, including a new park in Fallbrook, resurfacing of a fully accessible baseball field at San Diego Park in partnership with the Miracle League and San Diego Padres, and a baseball team playground at Lakeside Ball Fields, furthering efforts to improve and increase recreation opportunities for communities across the county. Now I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Jason and Marco. The recommendations before your board today to approve the CENA as drafted and refer to the Chief Administrative Officer for funding and implementation of individual projects. Today's action does not approve funding for projects. Final funding recommendations and associated actions will occur through the budget process. As the county team has indicated in the second quarter economic update, funding requests for year one projects are being considered as the county team develops the fiscal year 26-27 operational plan, with consideration of all the other one-time priorities of the county. So we'll continue to evaluate funding options and other diversified funding strategies for next year and the rest of the years of the CENA. And we will return to the board as needed should further funding become available. This completes the staff presentation.
Thank you so much. Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Marisa. We have 18 requests to speak on this item, 8 in person and 10 requesting to speak. We received 60 comments, 5 in support, and 1 neutral. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 14 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers on the sign, you'll have 1 minute to address the board, and I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'll call you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. I'd like to invite one of the first 3 individuals, Alicia Morrison, Commander Chris Lawrence, and Christina Collins.
Alicia Morrison, for the record. I do support this item, but I do have a question and some comments. So, one county does not necessarily mean one size fits all. Each community is unique in its own way with different needs, and within those communities, some needs rank higher in priority. For example, the Tijuana River at the Southern Boulevard hotspot. After experiencing it myself, I understand the urgency for a sustainable infrastructure solution, but there is also a need for a solution at the source of pollution. I have a question with safety group, the Marine Corps Air Station Miramar Firearms. Isn't this a federal jurisdiction, so I'm not understanding why this would be something that the county would deal with, or is there an MOU between the county and the feds on that? And there needs to be greater transparency and community engagement. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Lawson Greenberg and members of the board. My name is Chris Lawrence. I'm the commander assigned to the Sheriff's Detention Services Bureau. I'm here on behalf of Sheriff Martinez, who respectfully sends her regards and wants to ensure her words are expressed to the board and the community as it relates to her strong support for the Ballistic Detention Facility for VDF as part of the CENA plan. The new modern VDF is a project that has been long advocated for, carefully studied, and undeniably needed. This project has centered around more than just new physical building. It's been about safety, dignity, modernization, and better outcomes. The current VDF is built for a different era of incarceration and is at end of life. It's also built with short-term stays in mind, a reality that no longer exists after the realignment brought about by AB 109. Today we understand far more about mental health, medical care, care, reentry planning, and the importance of humane conditions for both staff and those in custody. Modern facility allows us to align infrastructure with best practices, which will improve outcomes, expand programming space, and ensure appropriate clinical and rehabilitative services can be delivered effectively. On behalf of the sheriff, I want to thank our community, city leaders, and this board to understand that this is not just a county project, it's a regional responsibility. Thank you.
This next speaker is coming forward like no other traditional speakers. Allegedly, Audra, Cesar Javier, Jennifer Royston.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Christina Combs, and I'm speaking to you as a nurse and nurse leader who has practiced within this detention facility and is in support of this item. Correctional health care has evolved significantly. The individuals entering our custody present with advanced chronic diseases, behavioral health needs, substance use disorders, and a higher overall medical acuity. Our current infrastructure was designed for a different era in healthcare delivery. We must evolve. Nursing perspective, purpose-built medical space with intentional design enhances patient safety, protects confidentiality, and stabilizes work performance. Intentionally designed medical space could reduce emergency room send-outs by strengthening our ability to quietly and quickly and safely assess, stabilize, and monitor patients. Strategic medical adjacency design allows for faster escalation of care, closer monitoring, and medically fragile individuals, and improve interdisciplinary coordination. I am in support of modernization. Thank you.
I wish we lived in a world where people actually cared about our community, and that you guys actually spent the money that people can see with that last item and how you guys want to bring things forward. No, we only need 3 votes. Oh, it's going to pass anyway. Even if Joel and Jim say no. It's a bunch of shenanigans that you guys, engage in. I mean, you literally put people through hell, and then you're like, we have a place for you if you have a behavioral health issue that we created. Now we're going to medicate you. It's like, it's pretty really doing, and the people that are supposed to be representing people and actually making their lives better, and they don't give a shit. They exploit and they gaslight and virtue signal like you guys are really doing something good, and it's like, all you have to do is go and talk to be able to do that.
Next speaker, please. Speaker over here. I'll invite the remaining speakers in person, Michael Beck and Michael Dean.
Cesar Return District 9, City of San Diego, District 4 of the county. As a priest, thank you for your confession. My response to you guys, you go up to your home, your working places, and read 100 times your plan, your capital punishment, capital human projects. God will forgive you. Just continue reading and reading, and hopefully do not be loyal to a group or party. Let's be loyal to our Constitution. Ma'am Rimer, Ma'am Steve, I think, and Ma'am Aguirre, I thought you were still heading to solve the issue of life and death for San Diegans. District 1, Tijuana River Pollution, my God. Let's put our resources there. Let's put our trust. Thank you, God. Help us. Help us.
Hello, my name is Michael Dean, the president of the Deputy Sheriff's Association. I'm here in support of Item 14. Clearly, I'm in reiterating what everybody already said. This detention facility has far exceeded its lifespan and is overdue for replacement and improvement. On behalf of the sheriff deputies and nurses, mental health professionals, and technicians, people that work in the building every single day for decades are being exposed to mold, poor ventilation, outdated safety technology. The building needs to be repaired. I understand people don't want to fund jails, but it's an essential item that we need to do that and fix it. So on behalf of the DSA and all 2,400 deputies, we strongly support this detention modernization project and improving the conditions for all of our county employees.
Thank you. Final call from my back. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We will start with our first caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Becky Rapp, and I appreciate this item as improving infrastructure is not optional. Roads, drainage, schools, school sidings, emergency access, and public safety facilities must come before policy expansion. At a recent board meeting discussing the socially equitable cannabis program, the president of the Bonneville School District and the chair of the Bonneville Community Planning Group raised serious concerns. She spoke about unresolved school site approvals, inadequate roads, and basic infrastructure gaps in her community. These are not minor issues, they directly of life. Yet, despite those concerns, the cannabis program is moving forward, and the infrastructure in that community is not. How can we justify expanding operations in areas where critical infrastructure has not been addressed? Increased traffic, public safety demands, and enforcement needs all rely on adequate roads and facilities. If we acknowledge in the capital improvement
It's true, casinos or planning people essentially spend tax dollars on needs. How does that work when the county's overspent for 6 years on one? Raising reserves for union bonuses, removing any chance of having money for future projects. It's basic science, right? I believe that you study to understand it's basic math. You have a negative budget. The dilapidated business detention facility is yet another victim of county neglect, resulting in countless lawsuits which forced this board by the act. These Mesa juvenile detention facilities, you guys better start focusing on the child abuse allegations that are building. These fund political gains like bonuses and investment things that actually benefit working families, police and fire stations, storm infrastructure, roads, silos, reservoirs, dams, etc., with special attention to neglected Spring Valley. The county animal shelter in Santee won't even serve Santee residents. Staff can't even say if they can fit 2 horse trailers in for backcountry residents in an emergency. The best part of this item was the term one county approach, because repeatedly today we heard the backcountry pushed to the side and county considerations. It's almost like the county is being run by San Diego coastal elite dictators.
On to the next caller.
Good afternoon. I'm Lavon, or I'm authorized business member of the Center Community Planning Group 16. Today I'm speaking as a resident of Valley Center. I'm very much in favor of the county planning and development of the intergenerational center in Valley Center. But the community has spoken many times very loudly on location. Butterfield Ranch is a beautiful location in the national park. When local advocates for this park, we did so when locals advocated for this park. We did so with the intention to stay natural. The community has want to keep it that way. A long and rich equestrian heritage. Started to be an equestrian center that want our land heritage. That being said, Valley Center is grateful for the opportunity. I'm requesting that the county look at other locations in the community for an IGC. Thank you very much and have a day.
Thank you. Now here for the next call.
Good afternoon, Chair members, Dan Silver and Ginger Hathaway, also on behalf of Michael Beck, who had to leave the chamber. We are grateful for the projections that show renewed funding for the MSCP. However, we like to note that those monies were frequently as high as $10 million in the past, and need to raise the question of whether $7 million is realistic, given land prices and given the pending North County plan. So for this reason, we would urge you, if feasible, if possible, to increase these projections to $10 million annually. Thank you very much, but I appreciate what you've done. Have a good day.
Thank you. The next caller.
decided to take a pay cut to work for our county. I wonder why. Is it the same reason why the judge got appointed to as like one of the first cases she had on the restraining order you gave me? Because I called you guys a cunt? I have no idea. But it just seems really, really strange to me. But you know, okay, who cares about our elections, right? Who cares about the fact, I mean, obviously you care about who elects you. That's where all the money goes, right? Your union people. To the point that Joel is calling you out, which is surprising as all hell because he's trying to save you. So listen to what he says. You gotta pretend. If you don't want to get in trouble, just pretend you care, you listen to the people. That's all you have to do. You know, the checkbox. Stop trying to skip that checkbox because you're going to get in major trouble for skipping that checkbox. That's what Joel is trying to tell you. He's a professional in this kind of shit.
Here's the line caller.
My name is Andrea Gibson. I chair, and I'm calling in today because of the fact that the CNAS from fiscal year 25 to 30 allocated $3.5 million fiscal year 27-28 to the Ramona area, asking the county to assist with building a skate park. And it was heartening to see that now that $3.5 million has been pushed to fiscal year 28-29. That money is only at this point in time slotted for design, environmental analysis, and preliminary construction activities. I would ask that this project not be continued to be pushed down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Lostberg, that concludes public comments on this item.
Okay, Supervisor Mark.
Thank you so much for the presentation and your work on this event. And to the members of the public, thank you for calling in and coming in to speak to us. Awesome and impressive. Under 1 minute comments there. Thanks, Brian. All right. Appreciate you. Staff to rethink our LRP structure and less restricted placement, and to move whatever we're doing from the youth detention facility. That certainly was not in the black letter law or the spirit of the law, which the whole purpose was to kind of have a radical thought process around reintegrating our young people back into society after they've been institutionalized. And what we were working on is having an LRP right outside of the detention facility. So I was never going to support that, and thank you for hearing me on that, because it's very important to me that we, one, follow the law, one, because it's the law, and two, because there's really a lot of intention behind that law. It really changes the lives of our young people who have been housed in detention facilities. So I understand we're looking at other locations. I'll just drop another nugget for our, not our CELA folks, but our service folks, that I also think that we should be partnering, and that prevention should not be facilitating over those LRPs. That also was not the intent. So that's a later conversation. Well, I do look forward to working with community-based organizations, having community staff running those under the guidelines of the LRP and why they were established, so that our young people can have access to trauma-informed care, educational programming, and rehabilitative support to re-enter the community. So there are projects, District 4 projects on here. I'm very proud of a lot of the work we are, but I just wanted to put that extra emphasis on that LRP, so thank you so much. And I will move the item if needed. Thank you.
Supervisor Desmond.
Well, first of all, thank you for all your work on this. I know this is a juggling act and trying to prioritize projects throughout the whole region, and I think this is a good mix for all 5 districts. So thank you very much. I do want to bring up the Vista Detention Facility. Obviously, this is a massive need and an investment. And, you know, we've heard from the sheriff that there's going to be a strong focus on reentry services when somebody's let out of the jail, trying to get them into services or housing and things like that. But I want to stress again that we as one of the nurses that came forward here, that we need mental health facilities within the jails. Because unfortunately that's the #1 place where people get mental health treatment, and it's cold turkey. So I would like to see designed within the jail some type of mental health facility. It's not just jail cells, maybe it's a ward or something like that that helps people that have mental health, need mental health treatment, and maybe working with the nurses and other people that actually provide that services elsewhere, those services elsewhere, that if this can get incorporated into a module or something like that at the jail, because that seems to be our biggest impediment right now is that taking in mentally ill people and they're not getting, it was stated, it's just a house criminals, not house people that have mental health issues. So I'd like to see that as an emphasis in the new jail coming forward. And I want to ensure that it remains a priority. And this is where one-time money should be spent, not an ongoing program. So I would just like to last for here. So thank you very much. So, Coach.
Okay, thank you very much. We have motions. Seeing none, please vote.
Chair,
we now move on to non-agenda public comment. Andrew, please call the meeting.
The Chair of the River Race 7 remaining requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. 2 individuals in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial in the conference line using the instructions that are provided. To begin with the in-person speakers, as your name is called, please come forward and stand with the arrows and spillings for the podium. You will have 2 minutes to address the board unless we begin by stating the audio record. I'd like to invite forward Speaker Javier.
Session with District 9, City of San Diego, District 4, County of San Diego, the junior and the senior political jurisdiction. We have still time. And we have 10 fingers intelligences. Very basic. God help us. Divine intervention is what we need. Let's work together, physically, mentally, morally, spiritually, psychologically.
This is all about action now. Let's not wait for tomorrow. Let's think now and do something navigating the right azimuth. We heard you. Don't you have soul? Don't you have heart? Come on, mothers, fathers. We say this because we are all in our twilight years and we went through this and we are hurt because of that ceramics business which is not supposed to be next door. Can you not read that, Madam Aguirre? As victim of this pollution, Tijuana River Valley pollution, air, water, land, coastal. Can we not reverse our wrath and say, we are elders, we are teachers, you and us, and learners. Have we not learned? We are planning for what is a home when no one is there. Let's focus on the priority, save the lives, cure them, help them. God
intervention, please, thank you.
Thank you. Your time's up. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with the first caller.
Hey, it's truth. I hear there's a new taxpayer-funded cult being created called the PALOMA Fellowship. I believe that stands for Propaganda, Agitation, and Leftist Opportunism for Mental Advancement. And a mascot is a female dog. Not sure if there's been a decision between Dasha or Mamola. I assume the one who's in love with herself. But it's a training program, probably to learn how to avoid paying property taxes. Reading the SNU IBWA Socialist Group Dominion of Tomorrow. All expenses paid by legal residents because Mamola never funds anything herself, of course. Be advised that I'm going to keep auditing this program. Now, does everyone remember when former County Council number 100, David Smith, tried to stop me from reading Helen's email about temporary all worthy to get? He also pressured media outlets not to publish the email. Ellen Robinson Park confirmed that she emailed former County Council number 80, Claudia Silva, to flag concerning moves by Carol Creamer and argued the message should be protected. It was not attorney-client privilege because I was not seeking legal advice. I was reporting an inappropriate and unethical activity that could also have potential Brown Act and legal ramifications to the improper deals proposed by the supervisor, Robin Meyer wrote, end quote. And much like Karen Mamola has also been very exclusive in her big order, is it true that a union forced Mamola to use amplified campaigns to corrupt Dan Rottenstreich as your political consultant, the husband of racist union puppet Bridget Browning, who cut a deal on Midway Rising? Almost as rotten as the Privacy Group and Larry Reamer. Harris, do you know he used to use Sherry's 858 phone number in La Jolla for his consulting business? My suggestion, Sarah, is to quit working with the Center on Policy Initiative to extend the supervisor term limits that hypocrite Democrats and their campaign funders, SEIU, once supported in 2010 to trick voters into getting rid of the full Republican board that people didn't have a problem with at the time. The corrupt progressives love their reign of terror. They never wanted it to end. Isn't that right?
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
I do love all the shady shit you guys do, but you know, I also recognize the majority of it is legal. You guys give 1 point of separation. And you audit. So you don't really have to check anything. Matter of fact, you get all the bonuses, you get, apparently you love them kissing your ass because you have that position of power. But the second you guys go ahead and say anything negative, or, you know, let's just go with Nora Vargas choosing Ebony over Cindy Chavez, then the buck gets thrown, right? I'm really curious on what they have on you guys, or are you just that weak? I'm just really, really curious, because how hard would it be to find out and look at a heat map on the registration cards that they pulled out the ballot and who they came from? How hard would it be just to take a look at that? How hard would it be to find out that 109 of them probably came from one registration drive? You know what I'm talking about, Nick Shirley's report. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at how these people are voting? You know, we could track it down to a person filling out the registration card. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. But you know, that's why you listen to them and not the people, right? Our vote is only worth one because we're unwilling to cheat. But theirs, for whatever fucking reason, they love getting it crammed in their ass. And so therefore they deserve, what, 100 votes each? So what's the deal? You go up, you like child trafficking, you're allowed to vote, what, 1,000 times? I mean, these are the people checking out the registration cards committing that crime that you're protecting. I'm just curious on why. Why are you so persistent in checking and not looking at that?
There's gas in here.
And Sharon Lawson Reamer, that concludes the request for non-objective clarification.
It's really strong.
I told
Thank you all very much.
It's
DGS though.
Okay, thank you. Public comment for closed session matters.
Thank you, Chair Lawson Reamer. Item session and item 1 on the sanitation district agenda. Proposed session matters. Proposed session agenda includes 6 matters. We'll note that item A on the regular closed session agenda is being withdrawn. And the individuals that request to speak on the closed session matters must provide comments related to the matters listed on the closed session items, otherwise your comments will be considered off topic. We have 8 requests to speak, 3 in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. Any individuals that request to speak on the closed session matters by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with our in-person speakers. By board legislative author Cesar Javier and Jennifer Royston. She's here.
She's not. There's a mysterious Cassidy in here right now. Like, I feel extremely lightheaded. And it was coming up from that vent over there. And you're just saying that we're aware, but it's like, this is very, like, pungent, that we're even just still sitting in here. But whatever, we talked to 5 people anyway. And that's part of the reason. Yes, I was sick.
He just said there's a strong gas smell coming from outside the building somewhere up a harbor. The smell of gasoline. There's nothing right now that's connected to the building itself.
It's coming through that vent though.
It's coming from outside vents. It's coming in or coming out from the outside in. So the building is not 100% airtight.
No, and that's really bad because just sitting, I feel like you guys are trying to poison me. I mean, as long as I'm the one that dies, it's cool. I mean, just briefing like this, I don't feel like you guys are. I was going to bring to whatever. You know, when you guys are engaged in things like torturing children and county council sits here and will allow the social workers to enter fraud into reports and lie about families so that they get ripped apart and then they can come in and terminate a parent's rights. And county council sits here and defends that. It's like I can't even think straight. It's like this is the world we live in. It's full of toxic everything. And you guys don't care. You just, we're aware of it. That's what's so sad is that you're aware of the things that are happening to Zaya and Malika Robinson. And it falls upon deaf ears. It's just like Arabella McCormick and Delilah. Like, why did they have to die? Because nobody wants to do their job because it's more about getting money and filling your pocket than actually making sure that children don't suffer. Fucking A.
It smells like gas in here because this is fucking Satan's playground.
Thank you. And I'm here for the individuals that request to speak by phone. Start with the first caller.
Hi, Andrew. I just wanted to make a request. I don't know if this is permitted or you would allow this, but Paul's phone died. Would he be able to speak on this on this item as well, or from this phone?
Yeah. Did you request to speak, correct? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Councilor, after your comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Hand the phone to Paul after your comments. Thank you.
Okay. Well, good.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. I thought there were 3 cases that were starting out or for potential, and we can kind of guess what they're about. I mean, the county did so many weird things. I mean, you know, it's kind of getting easy to guess what they might be about. But what I'm focused on is the case about that project in North County, I think Rancho Santa Fe, where there weren't enough exit roads in case of fire, and they authorized the huge development anyway, and now they're suing, but even a fire captain testified that there weren't sufficient access roads. In fact, I think there was only one big access road. So that's the case that you should find out of as quick as you can. Otherwise, it's a total waste of money. And then, you know, there are all those child abuse cases, the AG's getting close, you know, with his investigating the juvenile justice system. So, you know, it's really a matter of time before he catches on to the whole scheme, the whole county scheme. But, you know, 150 odd Klinsky cases, and I don't know how many others there are. You know, it's something that you need to solve right now. You need to stop this.
Your time is up. If you can hand the phone back to Consuelo for her 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Tell me when.
Go ahead, Consuelo. Thank you.
Tell me when. Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'm just going to, let's see. Litigation. I guess I'll just say this is the sad part of these meetings, because somebody's getting screwed, you know what I'm saying? Literally, and it's just a sad thing. I had something, yeah, so just more of our money being spent on lawyers, and it's really unfortunate. So, I don't know, do you have anything else you want to say, Pablo? It's my time. Can Pablo identify as Consuelo? Just kidding. Okay, that's all. Have a great rest of the day. Audra. Bye.
Thank you. I'm not here for the next call.
Hey, Truth Case, they are initiated litigation. Tara, we know that you lawsuit lovers. But what happened to Case A is that evidence fall through. Case B is Derek Scott versus La Mesa Spring Valley School District the same day as conflict of interest was validated just this morning. How weird is that? I believe this case is about the Spring Valley Training Church blaming the school district for the flooding coming from a culvert above them during 2024 and 2026. Case B is the Montfort Retreat versus the county, a Booth organization Valley Center with 10 years. They applied for a permit, but allegedly didn't hear from the county for 2 years. Then they faced an inspection, and the county allegedly said they'll never approve of the land use due to the earth, that they're a fire risk, lack structural integrity, and are an environmental hazard. That sounds like religious discrimination to me. Samana sees it as a minor use, but the county is insisting it's a major use permit. In 2024, the county then accused Samana of illegally discharging graywater. That sounds like retaliation to me. Then SDG&E cut power to the property, claiming an immediate hazard to life of the property, claiming they couldn't restore power without county permission. Isn't that amazing? KC is the Crooked Sierra Club versus the county. Funny when friends fight friends, grifters fight grifters. I guess it's just a communist struggle to see who gets to control the land in the end. And KC's anticipated litigation. Tara, Monica, and Manuela, even Joel, but especially Tara. You actually got really good advice today about the right type of box checking. I concur, but I support you continuing the backroom deals if it means you'll go to prison. Whatever gets you there faster. We're all waiting with anticipation on who will drop off this board next. Read the charm, you know. And also, wow, sewage coming through the board torture chambers. Manuela, did you bring that in with you? Well, as long as it stays out of the early, maybe we can look at it. Maybe we'll study it. You know what I mean?
Thank you. You're on the phone caller.
Curiosity, how much money? I know I was an asshole, and I own calling you names, that was terrible, calling your office, that was terrible. Do I think I should be thrown in jail for that? No, but you're gonna go ahead and spend how much money? And you fired like all the lawyers, right? Including Heidi, which basically said that I should have been a litigator. I chose the wrong profession. Cynthia's gone. Erin's gone? Did you guys fire her? What about Natalia? Did you fire that one too? I mean, is that the golden parachute because you guys know you fucked up? I have not, one, gone after you legally, but you've done everything in your power to silence me. When the only thing I'm asking you is take a look at the registration card that required a ballot coming to the same location. Even if one person filling them all out. How hard is it to go in and do that? I mean, ask the lawyer that beat Trump. I mean, he took a pay cut to go ahead and defend them. I would like to know his explanation on that. I mean, because in the NVRA data, when I go ahead and say something specific like that, you guys are supposed to look it up, not file a restraining order, not try to throw me in jail, not try to ruin my entire fucking life because I said there's a problem with the vote by mail system while I was working it. I did the forward allocation, ballot order, balance of budget, state and county documented millions of dollars, and because I said anyone could fill out a registration card to gain access to another person's ballot, you thought, hey, get rid of this fucking guy. That's what you guys did, right? I couldn't talk to any of you guys. Why? Because the county fired me, and then you gave me a restraining order, preventing me from access, except for catching Sarah Armstrong on camera, saying that she would look into that.
Thank you, Chair Russell Freeman. That concludes public comments on the item of consent. Closed session. Thank you.
I think we need to turn it over to county council for a comment on the record.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Matter concerning the attorney-client privilege. A statement was made just now, referenced by a public commenter, that appears in a document that constitutes a confidential communication between legal counsel and the county that was made for the purpose of seeking and providing legal advice, and that document is protected by the attorney-client privilege. To the extent the commenter was referencing or quoting from a privileged communication, I'm formally asserting the attorney-client privilege on behalf of the county, and nothing in this statement or assertion is intended to limit public comment generally, but we are obligated to preserve the privileged communications and not engage in any discussion of privileged and protected legal advice in an open meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We now proceed with our adjournments in memory. Today's adjournment in memory is presented by Vice Chair Montgomery Stetson and Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of a beloved civil rights leader for justice, whose life was marked by service, courage, and an unwavering commitment to equality and human dignity, Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Reverend Jesse Jackson was born on October 8, 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina. He rose to become one of the most influential civil rights leaders of the 20th and 21st centuries. A protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Jesse Jackson worked closely with him during the civil rights movement. After Dr. King's assassination, Reverend Jackson carried forward that legacy of nonviolent protest, economic justice, and voting rights advocacy for decades to follow. In 1971, Reverend Jackson founded Operation PUSH, which stood for People United to Save Humanity. This initiative was committed to advancing economic opportunities and corporate accountability for all races. He later established the Rainbow Coalition of 1984, building a broad multiracial movement focused on social justice, workers' rights, and political inclusion. Through these efforts, he helped expand opportunities for communities long excluded from political and economic power. Reverend Jackson also launched nationally competitive presidential campaigns in 1984 and 1988. Notably, his 1988 campaign built a powerful coalition that reshaped American fairness, opportunity, and representation on the national stage. Throughout his life, Reverend Jackson was also a global humanitarian and advocate for peace, engaging in diplomatic efforts that secured the release of American hostages abroad and brought international attention to human rights cases and causes. Reverend Jackson lived out a faith rooted in justice and service. His ministry extended beyond the pulpit and led into the streets, the ballot box, and the world's media. He consistently called on the nation to live up to its highest ideals and to widen the circle of opportunity. Reverend Jackson married Jacqueline Brown in 1962, and together they raised 5 children. His life reflected a deep commitment to building a better future for his family and future generations. Reverend Jesse Jackson leaves behind a lasting impact on the civil rights movement and communities across this nation. His voice, his vision, and his courage helped bend the arc of history toward justice. We extend our deepest condolences to his family, loved ones, and to all who were inspired by his extraordinary life of service.
Thank you for that. Okay, with that, the board is going to proceed to closed session. Think about a 10-minute break. We'll be in recess until tomorrow, Wednesday, March 4th at 9 a.m. for a legislative session. Thanks.
The board will now recess into closed session to consider those matters listed under item 18 and sanitation district item 1 on today's session agenda. If there are any reportable actions that will be reported out during the land use session this meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, March 4th, 2026.
So there's a gas.
I know. Like, get a little message.
Nothing to see here.
I gotta breathe it all.